In the past, I've had to substitute for band and choir and some of those related arts that we're not always comfortable with. John, a music teacher, is here with us today, and he's going to give us some great ideas. And I tell you what, they're so specific, you might want to get out a piece of paper and take some notes. So here we go.
Substitute Teachers Lounge.
All right, guys, I think you're going to enjoy today. We're talking to John from Pennsylvania he's a music teacher for elementary school, all the grades, so you're going to enjoy what he has to say. Let me mention just a couple of items. First of all, the student spotlight that we've been doing midweek for the last 2 weeks has really been popular. We need more students. So if you're a student of any kind, we've interviewed college students. We've interviewed high school students. We want to get some of those middle school students and elementary school students as well, of course, with their parents' permission. So let us know if that's a possibility and email me at gregcollinssubstitute@gmail.com. I, again, will have that email address in there for you on the notes page. So gregcollinssubstitute@gmail.com. And let's go ahead and get to John. All right, I want to welcome John with us today on Substitute Teachers Lounge. I will tell you this, that he teaches a subject that I have never taught to a group that I have never taught. So how you doing today, John?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Really good, really good. Why don't you just tell us your whole journey, how you got to where you are today, even if it started when you were younger, and then reveal the big secret about what you're teaching.
All right. Yeah. So when I was in middle school, going from middle school to high school, I had this, what in my mind was a big decision to choose either high school band or high school soccer, because I was really in love with both of them. Luckily, I was able to do both soccer and band in high school. But I still remember the John Williams concert very vividly. And that took me through college. I went to West Chester University of Pennsylvania outside of Philadelphia and got my bachelor's of music there. And then actually moved out to Colorado for 3 years, where I started teaching elementary music.
One of my favorite states.
Oh, I loved it. It was gorgeous being out there, but we were so far away from all of our friends and family are back on the East Coast. So we ended up moving back. I'm now teaching elementary general music in Marple Newtown School District outside of in the same area here in Broomall, kind of outside of Philadelphia.
Okay, good. Well, you're the second person in a row I've interviewed from Pennsylvania, so
there you go.
It must be a popular area up there. What kind of activities do you have outside of the school system? Are you involved musically in those ways as well?
Yeah, I lead a contemporary worship service. I lead the music for it at a church in West Chester, and then I've got my own podcast that I do that I'm launching here in April that I'm really excited about. So,
what's it going to be called?
It's going to be it's the Jabadoo Education Podcast, and I'm going to be interviewing some professors and researchers in fields like education, psychology, leadership, just to try to bridge the gap between the research that's being done and then the application to the classroom. So
right. Sounds great. One thing that I've noticed when I do sub for classes like band and choir, they're not sure how much they want to, I guess, put on the substitutes, because, that's kind of more of a unique ability than just walking in and trying to teach language arts or something like that. What do you leave for your subs?
So general music at the elementary level, I think, is maybe a little less specified. As you get into middle school and high school, you do kind of have a specific teacher for band and a specific teacher for choir. But the nice thing about what I do is that it's just general music. So I see every single student that comes through the building, they come and have a music class. So I'm able to do maybe some more basic stuff than it might, for some substitute teachers who come in, they might actually feel more successful in my classroom than they would in a choir or band classroom. So what I typically do is I've done a few activities that my students know, and then I set up 4 or 5 of those activities around the room, and I just tell the sub, you know what, break them into groups and send the groups to each of the stations, and then after 10 minutes or so, the students can rotate to the next station, and it's very the students are kind of self-working. What's the term for that? Like they're working on their own. There's not a whole lot of
self-motivated. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just self-monitored, maybe, I guess. So I tried, because I know that it is a challenge, especially for somebody who's not musically trained, to come into a class and then try to lead that. I'm sure is rather difficult. Just for same reason, if I had to go substitute for an art class, I would feel very incompetent in that sense.
Oh yeah, so, I've had to do that too.
Yeah.
Thank goodness they left good notes.
Yeah.
So do you see all of the elementary grades in a given day?
In a given day, yeah, I'll see. Well, throughout, at least for my building, throughout the week, I'll see each class at least once and sometimes twice.
Is this a public school or a private school?
This is, yeah, public school.
Okay. What's the enrollment there, just out of curiosity?
Somewhere between 350, 400. I don't know the actual.
Okay, so that's a decent sized school then.
Yeah, enough that the kids still get on top of me for not remembering their names.
You've got me curious now. Give me a couple of specific activities that you have them involved in. I mean, do you like teach scales, or is it that kind of detail, or is it more just learning how? In fact, I think I remember in your email that you mentioned you do some singing and dancing and several different things like that.
I definitely do that for me when I'm teaching. We do a lot of singing, a lot of dancing, just because it's very accessible for somebody who doesn't even know the slightest thing about music. You can come in and do your best to start singing and dancing along with the group. But as far as when I leave something for substitutes, the activities are like, one is like the game memory, where you have to try to match cards. So they've got some music notes on them. They have to try to match the letter to the music note.
Nice.
So that's one station. They got another station. I give them a packet of songs that they've played throughout their elementary career, and they can go back through some of the songs on the xylophone instruments that we have and try to remember how to play some of those songs. Occasionally I'll do a worksheet, or so I'll just leave a worksheet and say, hey, here's what we've been working on for the last month or so. Let's see if you remember any of it. And then that maybe sometimes I'll leave that, and then the sub will have to kind of monitor, make sure they're finishing that up so that they can turn it back into me so I can look it over. Boom whackers, if you know what those are.
I do.
Yeah, so I'll leave a boom whacker song where they have to work as a group to play the song.
Good.
I've got a nice little foam chart that, goodness, I don't even know the company that I ordered it from, but it was like $20, and it comes with Velcro ping pong balls. So you have to try to
cool.
throw the Velcro ping pong balls onto the felt target, and then match the symbol, the music symbol that's on the target, with their bingo sheet. So they kind of have to like play target bingo. I'll do maybe 4 or 5 stations around the room, but I've got maybe 7 or 8 that I pull from. So it's different every time for the kids.
Do your age groups ever do activities on Chromebooks or anything like that?
Yes. 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, I know, use computers pretty regularly. I don't use that a whole lot in my room, just because for me, one of my just philosophies of music is making sure that kids are active in engaging and creating music. I don't want to just do, have them log on and do a research project about a music composer from the 1800s or something like that.
Right.
But very recently, my 5th graders got very excited about a trivia game called Gimkit. Have you ever heard of that?
Okay.
And so I went on and I edited a Gimkit with some music trivia, and then right before we went on this COVID-19 break,
right.
I had my 5th graders come down and do that, and they were really into that. So, but that was more of a just review some of the stuff that they'd already learned. It wasn't necessarily to teach.
I was kind of asking a leading question. You really answered most of it. I'm a licensed Kahoot guy, so
Oh, there you go. Okay.
I've used Kahoot a lot in classrooms, but I've
Sure.
really never used it in the musical field. I was curious if you knew that if they had very many resources on Kahoot for music. Have you ever
Uh,
tried that?
I haven't. So Kahoot kind of became popular just as I was leaving high school, I feel.
Okay.
So I didn't have much experience as a student with it. And along the same lines, like in the elementary building, kids just don't pull out their phones. Like their phones are required to be in their backpacks all day.
Yes.
So in order to use Kahoot, it would be a matter of bringing the computers down, logging into the computers.
Yeah,
and,
that would
and
make it
would be a
much
process.
less convenient. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a process.
It sounds like you're already all over it anyway. I could tell I would enjoy being a sub in your class for sure. Sometimes
I
when
hope
I've
so.
taught sometimes when I've taught band and choir, I know that the teachers, like I said, uncomfortable giving me too much responsibility.
Sure.
So sometimes it's just throwing a movie in. And I remember one day at middle school, I got to the period that was honors 8th grade band. And I said, listen, guys, I've had enough of the movie. Why don't you get your instruments out and play something? And they were really good. I mean, I was glad I asked them to do that. My sons, I have twin sons, they're 30 now, but when they were in high school, they won the marching band competition one year for the state of Kentucky.
There you go.
And they're drummers. They're in the drum line. They also were ranked the number 1 drum line in the state of Kentucky one year. So
Congrats
I've played their drum performances for some of the band classes. So that was always
cool.
fun for me. Most of my listeners always like to know from teachers and students both, how do you know you got a good sub? Do you have subs that you ask to come back and why?
Me personally, no, but I know that there are teachers who definitely do. I think part of that is this is only my second year in my current building, so I haven't really gotten to know many of the subs. But I know that there are some teachers who request, like, I want this person to come in when I'm out. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
obviously that's what we're shooting for. So I always ask the students that I interview, what keeps a sub coming back, and I always like to ask the teachers too. I know a lot of times teachers, I don't want to call it normal classes. You could smack me on the wrist when I say that, but other classes like math and ELA, those types of things, a lot of them have reward systems in place. You have any kind of rewards in the music field that you offer your students?
It's gonna vary from building to building. Like my building in particular uses Class Dojo, and that's pretty building wide. So I have access to every single homeroom's Class Dojo, and I'm able to just reward good behavior and give the kids points in music class, but for their homeroom class.
Right.
Yeah.
What about on the flip side? I know, and I assume it's the same way in music class as well. You occasionally have some students that are being just a little bit too noisy, or seems like they just want a little bit too much attention. I was like that when I was a kid, for that matter.
I think we all were.
How do you, you got any good ideas you can share with us about how you handle it when it comes up in your classes?
I think there's no one correct answer for it,
I agree.
And it's going to be so different from student to student. And, I'm only 5 years into my career, so I can't even say that I'm good at this yet either. But I've found success at least having conversations with students one-on-one. Like if let the whole class leave and
Totally
just sit down and just touch base with them, because that's one thing that I did learn pretty early, is that you don't know what's going on in the student's head when things are, especially if a student is acting up and they're normally a good kid. Instead of reprimanding them, I say, can you go get a drink in the hallway, and then I'm going to talk to you at the end of class. Just give them that chance to calm down, and then usually afterwards I just say, what's going on? Like, that behavior wasn't my expectation. Like, what's going on?
Right.
And usually that's when nobody else is in the room and it's just one-on-one, they're able to open up a little bit better. And you do get that chance to make that connection. But there are definitely students who just are going to always push your buttons. So I still haven't figured out a good way to handle that.
Oh, that was a great answer. I'm the same way. And it really, a couple of times I've done collaboration subbing with other teachers, and some of the things that that they yell, in public, I'm always worried that's going to do the kid more harm than good, or maybe even some of the other kids for that matter. Now, I know in band classes they rehearse and work on pieces. Does that ever come up in your classes, or is it basically just the rudimentary side of music, or does the whole class work on a piece together?
Same thing. Every class is different. My third, fourth, and fifth grade it's a lot easier to send them off and work on something, whereas K1 and 2 is definitely going to be more of the entire class working on something together. So like when you get into especially fourth and fifth grade, you can have like multi-part songs going on. So we might all be playing the xylophone, but this group of 5 students is playing one thing, and this group of 7 students is playing something else.
Yeah,
and that definitely does happen. But we also, my building in particular, I've got the entire 4th grade prepares a choir concert, and the entire 5th grade prepares a choir concert each year. So I have those choir rehearsals then during the day as well, and I see half the grade at a time with that. So that's 35, 40 students in my room at once.
Yeah, I really admire you for doing that. You're actually working with multiple different age groups, and you have to plan it accordingly. But let me ask you a couple more questions before we get out of here. First of all, how long has your state or your district said they plan to be out so far? Right now, we're at an April 20th return, but who knows whether that's going to be real or not.
We're actually at an April 6th return right now, but that will, I'm sure, get pushed back. Right. We've been out the entire last week. We were out. So it's been maybe 10 days or so that we've known that we weren't coming back for a while.
Right. Let me ask you this one. My kids are sometimes surprised at some of the songs they find on my playlist, because I listen to everything from Bing Crosby to Billie Eilish.
Oh, me too.
Good. That was my next question then. You're out walking somewhere and you've got your headphones on. What are you most likely listening to?
It's funny because it's a completely different answer than what I would have said 5 years ago. Because my wife has gotten me into country music.
Okay, which I'm from Kentucky, so it's big down here.
But that's one of the things why I think I went into music, is because I really feel like I can appreciate all forms of it. And depending on what I'm in the mood for, like this morning, I just threw on, if ever heard of the group Alien Ant Farm.
I have not. I'll give it a shot.
Oh my heavens. No, but the one song that I remember from my childhood that they did was Smooth Criminal, which is obviously a Michael Jackson song. But it was like a hardcore, like rock version of it. And I was just sitting in the kitchen this morning. I go, Alexa, play Alien Ant Farm. Just pull it out of nowhere, and just wanted to listen to it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. When I grew up, we were still listening to vinyl 45s and all that kind of stuff. So just the way the streaming works now, you'll get songs like Baby Shark and everything show up in the top 20.
Baby Shark.
You don't have to sing the whole thing. All right. Before we get out of here, just give me any closing thoughts you want to on anything going on with your school, anything you felt like you left out, or how you get, maybe the best one is how you get kids interested in music.
Shoo. That's certainly a conversation that's happening all over the country, all over the world, is engagement in not just in music, but in everything. It's tough to A, do something that the kids want to do, and then B, also make it valuable information for your teaching. So I do my best to at least try to figure out what the kids are interested in, and then see if I can find any sort of material. Because if you can meet the kids where they are, it's going to be so much easier to rope them in and guide them down where they need to go.
Man, that was a good answer. I'm impressed. All right. Well, I thank you for being on Substitute Teachers Lounge this week. You have a great next few weeks. I know none of us want to be off, but it's just something we have to do. But best of luck to you and everything that you do at your school.
Yeah, thank you. Stay healthy.
All right, you too.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, guys, that was John from Pennsylvania. We appreciate him being with us here today. Let me just mention a couple of things before we get out of here. First, his new podcast is the Jabadoo Education Podcast. You can find that on all platforms, but I will include a link directly on my show notes to his podcast, and we want you to make use of that. Remember, I will also have my email address because I want to interview some more students, so you'll find that on the show notes. And as always, it is Greg Collins Substitute at gmail.com. I will also include again the Buzzsprout link in case any of you are thinking about doing a podcast of your own. And what the heck, for one final link I'll have on there, Alien Ant Farm and their version of Smooth Criminal. And I tell you what, I think I kind of like it. So, John, thanks for putting that thought in my head. But I've got some new music downloads. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Music provided by Ben Sound.